Hello there, and today, whether you've got children or not, we are going to all become mothers of plants. And what could be nicer, quite honestly, in my opinion? How are you? It's been a while, hasn't it? Ah, it's good to see you. I'm going to put my little old lady specs on. How is life in your part of the world? Here, reflective, I would say. So, and also trying to squeeze in the energy and enthusiasm to really get going. Because I don't know about you, but in the UK, we had a sort of false spring last week. And it was just so uplifting to have 2 or 3 days of glorious sunshine. And I thought, oh, we're over the hump. And it's been tricky for me to get out into the garden. So because was always mine and Jules's sort of domain, the little world that we'd made together. But all of a sudden, I felt really inspired to get out there. And then what did the blooming weather gods do? But come back with a vengeance. Rain, more rain, cold, icy, and chilly. So, and yesterday was the most fabulous day. But of course, I was working. It was cold, but I was working. So it's so nice to be with you today here because what I love about our community, always have, always will, is that you motivate me to get doing stuff. So if I say that I'm going to do it with you guys, then I am going to do it. And so far, I have not sown a single seed. You know how many seeds I've got. I mean, I've got all of this for veg. I've got all of this old IKEA tin full of perennials, annuals. And I got a massive order from Chiltern to just keep me sort of satisfied and motivated. So this is part of my Chiltern order, still yet to be organised into these little boxes, which are organised by sowing date. And I still haven't got my tomatoes in. Anywho, today is the day for all of us. So, you know, it is Mother's Day. We can become mothers of plants. And also, if we are parents, then surely we're allowed an hour just to kind of get doing what we really want to do. So it's so nice to see you. I'm going to see who's with us. Hello to so many of you. Thank you for joining me. Hello, Anna, Jane Lewis, Anne Brodie. Nice to see you. Amanda Davison, Kath H, Lissy Moore, Amy Proctor, Suzanne Penn, Fenella Hodson, Sarah Lloyd, Rebecca Ladbroke. Goodness me, there's lots of you. Thank you so much for joining me. Melinda Kelly, how lovely. Really nice to see you. Hello, hello, says Kath. Wendy Alsop, Rachel Bork, so many of you. Thank you. Blossom and Broadbean, nice to see you. Kat Kinch, you're the mothers of Snapdragons, and Nicola Henson. Really, hello to see you. So, and really, really gorgeous to see you. And also to see this little fella. Now, we all know how much I adore my teeny tiny rake and my teeny tiny tools. And I've literally just started sowing and filling up, well, not sowing actually, just filling up my little seed trays. So what I'm desperate to get in today, and I was looking through my old tomato seeds, but I haven't sown a single tomato. And I've got loads more too, just in case. So, and why I want to get these tomatoes in is I think with seed sowing, it's a marathon, not a sprint, isn't it? So, and the more seeds you sow at any given time, the more little baby plantlets you are responsible for. So over the next few weeks, going all the way through until the beginning of May, and where I'll be planting those fast growing seeds like the cosmos. So for example, I'm just going to do little and often. And also what that means is that I'm going to be able to enjoy that magic over a longer period of time. Don't ever sow all of your seeds at once unless you know that they've got good homes to go to, because you honestly, you're creating a problem and a challenge for yourself just to keep those growing and going. So how I'm going to do this, and do, I should say, put any of your questions into the comments and please talk to each other and get to know each other. I genuinely feel this is certainly what I get from My Real Garden, My Real Gardens, is that the more you put in, the more you get back. So, and we're such a friendly group of people. It's an absolute pleasure. And one of my greatest joys over the last 5, 6 years to just be able to dip in and know that I've got like-minded folk always in my pocket, no matter what I'm doing. And I can check in and see what you're up to, see what you're doing, and share whatever I'm doing. And as I say, you help me if I'm struggling. And some days are better than others, I've got to admit. So what I'm doing is tomatoes today. So I've got my trusty, I'm going to pull this out, got it on top of the piano lid, my trusty Super 7 propagator. Let me know if you've got one of these in the comments. So, and I adore this. This is now several years old. And what it does is it gives you bottom heat. Now, there is no light switch on this. So you've got absolutely no clue whether it's actually on or not for testing, unless you just put your hand on it. And it just gives you, it's a bit like underfloor heating, I suppose, just a low glow of warmth, and then you know that it's working. They come with 7 of these little seed sowing trays, all with holes in the bottom and with a handy little lid. The lids are all vented. So when we start sowing, what we need to do is to make sure that those seeds are kept nice and warm to give them that lovely kind of perfect environment to start putting up their little shoots and putting down their little roots. So in order to keep them nice and snug, keep those propagator vents shut. Now, the moment you see any of your seeds starting to kind of get going, take them off this propagator, open up the vents and put them on another tray on your propagation station. Now, let me just put this down and I'm going to show you, so I get tangled in the wire, excuse me. I'm just going to twist you round and just show you where I put all of my seed as they're coming along. Can you see my very Heath Robinson propagation station? Look at the amaryllis. They've come. They're so good. So very exciting. This is their second flush. But this is just one of those old put up greenhouses without the plastic on top. And what I love about it is that I can put all of these lidded propagators on this, and then I have my grow lights. These are all very, very inexpensive. And what I'll do is I will put the link to my Amazon shop. You don't have to buy them from Amazon, but it's just a really handy thing, or even through there, wherever you want to get them. But it's just handy, I think, to catalogue everything that I find super duper useful, whatever I'm doing in the garden. So let's see, who's got one of those? Let's have a look, see what you've got. So what you need for the sliding glass door, a big rack. The thing is, at the moment, our seedlings are still not getting the light levels that they would get if they were growing wherever they were growing originally, so their origin countries. So we need to provide everything that they need, which is why if you oversow sow too many things at once or sow too many quantities, you've got to look after them. And that's always something that you've got to think about. Okay, right. So you've just treated yourself to one, Anna Higgins. You're going to love it. Awful and much better than my previous big propagator. Very elderly, but still working. Yes, you do. Use it for your cuttings, Jane Lewis. I have, and it's full. Zinnias have just popped up, yours. Nice to see you, Rachel. Yours are all winter sown outdoors because I didn't do well taking care of them inside. That's another thing. So I feel like don't sow all your seeds at once was very much the advice I most needed when I started gardening. You can take that seed packet back up. Revelation. Absolutely true. So I'm going to show you what I've got on my propagation station, kitchen table. I do have access to a greenhouse and I don't use it for seed sowing because it's in next door's garden, which is wonderful and very generous of them. But I like to be able to see the magic happening in front of my eyes. And also, I can have all of this stuff just outside in the garage, which we've got a door going through into our garage from the kitchen. It means that I can just grab all of this material and just use it whatever time of day it is. So this is my ancient first ever propagator that I got. And then what I've got, so I'm just going to shove this along. Maybe I'll put that on the floor for a minute. Is I always like to have these little trays. Now, these trays are fabulous. They come with different lids that you can put on the top. So they're propagators in their own right. I buy these from Garland products. They're all recycled plastic and they go on and on for years. Now, what I've got in here, you might be able to see in the light, can you see there, is I've put some water in here. And what that means is when I'm filling up my little Super 7 seed trays with compost, I put them in here so the compost draws up that water from below, and then I don't have to water the seeds after I've sown them, because we know that seeds are, well, some of them are microscopic really, aren't they? And if you water afterwards, even with a sprayer, you're in danger of making them, setting them a sail along the top of the compost. So this kind of bottom watering, we're all about bottoms today, aren't we? Bottom heat, bottom watering. It really is very handy. So I've got that on my kitchen table and I can just top it up from a jug. So that's what we've got there. I also have my little pots. These remind me of Jules because Jules cleaned all of these last autumn. So, and these are my plant labels. They're aluminium, they're from Nutley's. And you can write on the labels with your garden marker pen, which is the best pen for labelling anything outside. It doesn't fade. You can scribble on, and I will scribble on the date, and every variety that I'm using will go into that seed tray. And then next year, I know that I've got some here. Here we've got Lathyrus. All you do is you just wipe over it with some nail varnish remover and they're reusable. And some of these I must have had for 5-6 years and they're still going so strong. I can imagine that they'll probably be with me for the rest of my life, quite honestly, because, you know, they look brand new still. So we have that. And then I always have some scissors. So, and that means I can open up, and let's open up the first tomato. Honeycomb, that is a really, really flavoursome. It's a cordon, so this does need support, but we'll get to that later. So, but this is so tasty. It's one that Tamsin Westhorpe told me about. It's from Chiltern. It's honeycomb, so flavoursome. So what this means is I can open up this, and then I've started to use this paper tape on a dispenser. I keep this with me. So because that means that I can just use the seed that I need. Now, with these trays, what I will do is I won't sow my seed that away, which is so tempting, isn't it? I could sow then this whole packet. I just sow this way. So for tomatoes, I like to grow at least one of each variety. So I sow one for me, one as a backup, and one for a friend. So, because there's nothing nicer than being able to say, take a tomato. And then if that I don't need the backup later, that again goes to a friend. I also sow a lot of stuff that I take into the studio and give to my team there. So, because I just love doing it. So what I'll do, I'll get my compost back. Here we go. And veteran MRGers will know this already, but it's good, isn't it, to refresh our memories? So, and myself included, it really does help to go through this again because it's been a while. So I've got my seed. Oh, I also have one of these, which is just an old nightlight holder. And I like it to be clear so that you can see what you're doing. If you use, you know, a ceramic pot, you can't actually see the seed so easily. So I'll put that on there and then I will open up where I've put my scissors. In fact, I'm going to use these, which are also scissors, just so I've got 2 pairs. So now I cut that off. That goes in my compost pile because it's paper, and that's what I love about Chiltern Seeds. These are just gorgeous packets, and I love She Grows Veg for a lot of her unusual vegetables, but you can't shove these in the compost, and you can with these or into your wormery. my wormery, the worms have been pretty abused actually. And I went there last week and needed to just open up the tap because they were flooded with the rainwater that we've been having. So just a little tip, if you've got a wormery and it's outside, make sure that you're not drowning our little friends and pets. Okay, so I've got my seeds here and then I just cut the top off there too. And actually, I will try and tap out these. Sometimes they stick to the little packet, but I'll try and tap out. I need 3 really. I got 3 there. I have got 3 there. Hooray. So now what I can do is I will fold that over. So that's nice and tight. And then I've got my seed packet here. Should have opened it the other end. So that's something that you need to know. And that's something I've refreshed my memory about. Oh no, I'm good. So what I will do is I will get then my paper tape here. There we go. And literally just stick it back shut. And what the tape means is that you can use this next year then because it's nice and airtight. It's not going to let moisture get into it. If you fold it over, you're at risk of moisture getting in and also the seed falling out. So there we go. We've got those ready to go. So next thing I will do is I've got my seed there, is I'm going to get one of my pre-watered seed trays. And I don't know if you can see, but there's water coming out of the bottom, which is fantastic. It's already hydrated. I won't need to disturb my seeds and make them go to be swimmers by watering post-sowing. And then one of my seed labels, we've got to label this. I don't know what the date is today. I know it was Friday the 13th, so it must be the 15th of March. God, that's so late for my tomatoes. I usually grow them, I usually sow them at least 2 weeks before this. It's the first plant that I grow, or sow rather, as soon as we hit March. So I'm a bit late on these. But hey, doesn't matter. So we're doing it now. So 15th of the 3rd goes on there. And then we're growing tomato honeycomb. So that'll be written on there. Tomato honeycomb. Is anyone else sowing whilst I am? Let me know. Right, okay. So I've got my label. That's the first thing that goes into there. Anybody else sowing? And then I will get another couple of these actually. So these will just be almost surface sown, but what I like to do is just to give myself a little guide is I will just put a line along there just so that I know where I'm aiming for with my seed. That goes back in the pot. And then what I do is I will tip these teeny tiny seeds into my hand. And a really good tip, because you won't even be able to see those. I mean, some tomato seeds are actually bigger than these, but these are particularly teeny, is I will use the end of this seed label, and then that means I've got more control. I will just pop it, 1, 2, there we go. This is so exciting. It's just so wonderful, isn't it? You just can't believe that this speck of seed will grow taller than me. It will deliver the most juicy, flavoursome fruit. And that smell in the greenhouse, when I go in there in a few months' time, is just going to be one of the joys, the glimmers that I've been looking out for of the summer, right? Really, really wonderful. So that goes back in. And then all I'm going to do is on the little line that I've done is I will just literally just do a little teeny tiny sprinkling of compost. And this is Silver Grow. So, and it's the multi-purpose compost that I use from Silver Grow. I find it is the best peat-free compost that you can get. Now, if you're in the UK, Silver Grow on their website, they actually have a search area where you can see where suppliers are by your postcode, which I find terrifically useful. The place where I was getting my compost from, my Silver Grow, stopped stocking it. So now I have to drive a little bit further and it's a little bit more expensive. This year I noticed the bags were smaller too. We've gone to 40 litres. I remember when they were standard 80-litre bags. So now we're getting half-size bags for more money than we did all those years ago. But I suppose they're easier to carry around, but it's worth it. Silver Grey, I use it for seed sowing. I use it for containers. I use it when I'm planting perennials out into the garden. It's just the best peat-free compost that I've found. Now, I will continue sowing rows of those. Some of these plants I might grow 5 across here, but 5 kind of maximum of my tomatoes, because I don't want to sow them cheek by jowl. I want to give them a little bit of space, because that will make life easier for me when I'm getting to pricking out and potting on the seedlings into their new homes. I will actually show you what I do with those. So, because with larger plants, I sow them into, these are called P9s in the UK. So, and they're called P9s because they're literally 9 centimetres across. What I love about these is they fit really snugly as well onto my bottom heat Super 7. Now, if the heat gets up through there or not, I've no idea. So, but it seems to work really well. And with these as well, is I've got quite a lot of these different hats that fits perfectly over the P9s too. So if you are running low on these more, you know, the ones that the seed trays that the Super 7 comes with, don't forget you can always reutilize some of these pots. And these are fantastic if you're sowing grasses, because you need to sow quite a lot of grasses, because you sow them and pot them on as clumps in order for you to get any kind of good show this summer. So your P9 plots. And then the other thing that I will use for potting on with is these. I'll pot straight at sunflowers. These pretty much go straight into these from the off. Courgettes too. Just makes a less job for me to do is by repotting them. And then also these sort of seed trays. And these are also, these are from Charles Dowding. They're on my Amazon page, but he does some really good modules. And this is for the bigger plants, and these are for smaller things. I sow zinnias and the like into here, also cosmos, because they grow so quick that if I sow them individually into these cells, I don't make extra work for myself. So by having to prick them out and put them on, these are fab, because can you see? You can literally, you see my finger? Once the seedling has put its roots down and it's become quite nice and secure, you can push them up from the bottom, which is really rather lovely and very satisfying. And the same with these bigger pots. They have quite large drainage holes, which is wonderful for just popping them out, potting them on, or dare I say, just sticking them straight into the ground if you're growing them at this size. And of course, lots of other seed trays don't have that. So these are on the Amazon page that I will put a link to on the text area of this live once I've put it up. You don't have to buy from there, as I say. I use it just to keep everything together so that you can see where I'm getting things from, so which I think is handy. And this is all stuff that I actually use and have used for a long time. Right, okay, so we've kind of covered, I think, seeds, and I'm going to carry on doing this, but I want to know if you've got any questions. Then I want to show you something else that I've got that I'm really excited about and I want your advice on. Let's see, have you got any questions? Jules, that's such a good idea. Jules has bought spares of the Super 7 trays. It's worth doing, and you can buy those, and I've got several extras, because sometimes, particularly if you're busy, you might have some plants that are coming up here, and actually you don't have the time to get them, you know, get them pricked out and then utilize that next space on your Super 7 for more seeds. So, and it just means that if you've got extras, you can take that out, put it onto a lower tray with its own propagator lid on a larger thing, something this size with its propagator lid, and then just quickly sprinkle seeds, because that's the quickest thing in the world to do, rather than start faffing around pricking out. So it becomes a bit more of a conveyor belt. So thank you for bringing that up, Jules. That's a really good tip. So, And Brodie, my seed sowing compost is fine and tends to fall right out of the large opening. What to do? Well, I think you should put something a bit richer into there. So if you've got fine seed sowing compost, and I'm not suggesting that you go and dig out soil from the garden, but John Innes, traditionally, seed sowing compost has soil in it. So actually, what you could do if your compost is very thin is perhaps buy a soil-based product and start messing around and experimenting with what works for you in those particular seed trays, because what it needs is some agent to make that compost stick together. What you shouldn't be tempted to do is to really compact it and shove it in, because if you're knocking out all of the space and the air holes, the roots are going to struggle to get down into there, and the plants are going to find that difficult as well. So what you want is something with a little bit more grunt, Anne, and I would suggest that you do buy some sort of soil agent, so from a supplier, because you want to make sure that it's completely sterile. If you go out there and you dig up soil from your garden and then you sieve it, whatever you do to it, you've got no real control over any other seeds that are in that soil, any kind of cast over from bugs, diseases. You need that soil to be sterile, because, you know, these are children, infant plants, so you need to give them the best possible start. So, Joe Pilgrim, do you pre-sprout ranunculus? Sorry, not seeds. I actually don't really bother with ranunculus because I find them really, really a bit of hard work for not very much display. But I have grown them a couple of times, and yes, that's what I've done, is I soak them and then I pre-sprout them before I pot them on and out they go. But honestly, I just find their flowers are just so fleeting and then they're quite diminutive, or particularly the varieties that I've grown, that I just don't really grow them myself. I've got to be honest. Okay, what would be your priorities to sow now, and what would you leave until April, May? Most seed packets give quite a wide range of dates. I'm sort of rule of thumb, perennials in February, hardy annuals March, half hardy in April. That's exactly what I do. So what I've got is I've pulled out, I mean, this is crazy, isn't it? This is not even my tomatoes. This is my first sort of selection of seed that I want to get sowing. So what I've got here is I certainly won't be sowing fast-growing seed like zinnia, like courgettes, like cosmos now. It's too much hassle to look after it. So what I will regret sowing here is I've got things like anithera. So I've got here evening primrose, because the germination, and it tells you on the packets, anything with a long germination rate. So this germination takes 2 to 3 weeks approximately. I know I need to get on with it because it needs time to get going. So if I sow this today, it's not even going to pop up, you know, necessarily until we're well into April. So, and then it needs time to get stronger and then be at that stage in its growth cycle that I can prick it out and pot it on. So anything that's got a long germination rate or has a sporadic germination rate, I will get in here quite now, as soon as I can. I've got some kale here that I'd like to grow. Things like this Rudbeckia. So this is hardy, half hardy annual. So that kind of breaks the rule a little bit. But this, I know, the Rudbeckia cappuccino and all of these Rebecca Hertia varieties, they take so blooming long to go to flower that I want to give them a head start. So I'm growing a few Rudbeckias here, the same with Nicotianas. So they will take a while to get going and get started. So I am sowing those now, and a lot of my grasses. So yeah, so have a look on the germination rates, see how long they will take to germinate, or if you know, like myself, tomatoes and Rudbeckia are going to take a long while to get into flower and you need a head start, sow those too. So it's a little bit like doing your research. I like Chilterns because they tell you that information. They'll also tell you if the seed needs to be fresh. So you should sow it as quickly as you can. Certainly things like Beplurum, which I don't have any success with, that needs to be sown as fresh as it can be in order to get it germinated. So yeah, so rule of thumb, read your seed packets. I understand they give you a long rate. Don't panic too much. You're learning all the time, as am I, if you don't get it sown in the window that you allow yourself. All happen is that the plants will flower later for you. And you know what? That isn't the end of the world, is it? Okay, I'm going to just spin through and see any other questions. And if I miss your questions, please feel free to put them into the comments section underneath the post, and I will come back to you and answer the questions, or one of our lovely community members will do that for you, because there's an awful lot of knowledge in our community. So anybody, feel free to hop in, because life for all of us is quite condensed, isn't it, at the moment? So there's a lot to do. So, and if I don't get back to that question, I will not be offended whatsoever if you get in there first. And believe me, I will read those comments and interject as soon as I get the opportunity to do that. So, okay, C question. Do you think it's too late to Cabea? Risky. So I would have sown it on the day after Boxing Day. So I'm not going to bother. As you know, I'm not sowing Cabea this year. But I think you are taking a punt. But if you want to do it, do it. But I think once we get into April, unless you've got a really good, super dry spot where it gets sunlight for so much time, then I think you might not get flowers. But try it. But don't let it get into April. So I'd sow them today if I was honest with you. Thank you for that question, Joe. What else have you got? Paper whites, sown 8th of the 2nd, just going over. Where would you plant them in the garden? Jane? My paper whites are going over as well. And to be honest, they don't, because they're forced and grown hard inside, they generally don't come back into flower again. So I compost mine, I've got to be honest. But if you want to give it a go, just dig a hole anywhere and just put them in where you can see them, and also where you can smell them. But I think it's very unlikely that they will come back. So it's whether it's worth a bother. So mine will be going into my hot bin, so as soon as they finish flowering. So, but thank you for that. Okay. New to grow lamps this year. When do you turn them on? After the seeds have germinated? Catherine, thanks for that question. No, I just have them on pretty much all the time. It's a nice little party for my seeds on the propagator tray. So because what will happen is the seeds will germinate at different rates. So some will be germinating, you know, really fast, others won't be. So just stick them on and leave them on for a good 12 hours of the day. Sometimes I'm a bit naughty and leave them on for 15. But your seedlings will need some time to rest as well. And they just literally emulate sunlight and give all that life-affirming, life-giving rays that we will not be getting until, you know, later in the season in the UK. Isn't it nice though, now it's getting a bit lighter in the evenings? I was driving to a friend's last night. It was his birthday, Jules's bestest, oldest friends. And I went over to his to celebrate with some of Jules's really old friends. And I was driving over, and then it was light at 6:30. Oh, what an absolute relief that is. So yeah, so that I would just keep them on. Okay, so a few questions for you, because I don't want to keep you too long. Is as the sun levels are getting lighter, have you noticed that the weeds have started coming up? Now, we have a gravel drive here, and it's something that Jules and I always talked about doing. We never got around to doing it. So because I want to try, I don't want to use glyphosate, and we don't use glyphosate. And actually what Jules used to do was he used this as to just kill some of the pernicious weeds on the driveway. This is a really good product. It's natural. So it's from a company called Newdorf. It's Weed Free Plus, and it's made from natural compounds. They're acids, actually. So that come from, I think it's called perulum. No, I'm not going to get it right. Sorry about that. I did say I was at a dinner party last night, didn't I? So yeah, few wines were consumed. So, but yeah, so this is natural, and it's natural non-selective herbicide. So, and oh, pelargonic acid. So, and it comes from pelargonium, and there's also another nature identical fatty acid in here, which I think comes from maize. So, and it's completely biodegradable. It isn't a toxic chemical, it's a natural chemical. And Jules sometimes would mix some of this up and use a knapsack sprayer with it. But I wanted to experiment with other ways of doing it. So good. It's glyphosate free. It is a natural product. It comes from Neudorf. I'm sure that it's on my Amazon store thing. I wouldn't use this in the borders because it is a non-selective herbicide, natural herbicide. So for that, I just use my Hori Hori because I am organic. So, but what I have got is I was working somewhere the other day. We needed to get some plants for a little shoot that I was doing. So I got one of these. And we used to bang on about these when I was doing telly a lot back in the 90s, weed ones. And what you do is you put your propane gas, your kerosene, butane propane gas in here. You put it in there, and then you go, I think, might be, yes, there's the valve. And this, you burn your weeds off. So, and I just wondered, let me know in the comments of the live feed here, or let me know in the comments underneath the post when it goes live, if anybody actually uses a flamethrower to kill off their weeds in the driveway. I asked the chap at the garden centre, and I don't think he uses them actually. So, how long this bottle of gas would last? And he just said, well, it depends how many weeds you've got. And I was like, yeah, but generally, how many square meters can you cover with one bottle of gas? So, so I'm not sure about that, but I would love to know how that works, quite honestly. So, how much you get through. So, I would like to know. So if you do use one, do please let me know if it's any good, because I think it would be really, really good fun. And I might even manage to get Gilbert to help me do that if I've got a flamethrower that he can use. Has anybody used one? Let's have a look. They sell them over with you in Canada, Cat. Also to melt ice in winter. Creme brulee, says Nicola Hudson, dead right. So, okay, my husband has done that with weeds between the flagstones. Melinda, does it work? Is it good? Rachel, you've bought one as well, but you haven't been able to use it because you flooded the house right afterwards. Good Lord. Have never used one. Only thing is you get brown leaves left and have to wait for them to disappear. Good fun though. I don't mind about that because it is on the drive. So, and so it's fine. Oh, the weed one is good on my gravel drive, but the husband managed to set fire to the lawn with it last year. So keep away from dry grass. Thank you, Jan Willits. That's hilarious. So, gosh, yeah. So no, this is just gravel going up to walls in the front. So and no fences or anything like that there. And Melinda says it worked, but it was a lot of work. Okay, well, I'm going to give it a go and then I can report back, can't I? So is the thing. So, and it's just a bit of fun. And the other thing that's exciting is just to show that I do what I say. And honestly, you guys are so motivational for me, is that my Peter Nissen order of summer bulbs have arrived. So this is something, I will keep these because I'm just going to seed sow today. It is quite a good day outside, but it's quite blustery. But I'm just going to open this up with you because it's so satisfying that here we've got our little space-saving lovelies that I'm going to plant here, there and everywhere just to pep up my borders, give me some flower while the perennials are still coming up. Did you get the Summer of Colour Summer Bulbs newsletter? Because if you didn't, have a look for it. So, because it lists everything that I've actually ordered there. Same with seeds, far too many seeds. So what we've got in here is we've got Tritelia, Californica Babylon. Now that's a fantastic blue. And then Gladiolus. So I grow some quite big gladioli. So these are some that I haven't grown before. So we've got At Night, Flavor Solar, Papio, which is the true species, and Papio Ruby Red. So those are a bit more diminutive gladioli. So they're not like the Dame Edna Everidge or Morrissey ones, bulbs. And yes, you can see that from the bulbs here, and these bags, I think they're compostable, I can't remember. So, but these are quite little bulbs, and that kind of does reflect in the size of the plant. And here is our Tritelia, which are like blue, kind of a sort of allium-y, agapanthusy little firework globe. So, and you can tell, here we go, these are bigger ones, and these are the Flavor Solar. So, and they're bigger bulbs, can you see? So just a handful of each, just to experiment with them. And that, again, is going to give me something to look forward to and get out there and keep getting on with our thriving garden. So just to bring me joy. And the garden, you probably read, some of you will have read the Telegraph article that I wrote about the garden. It has been difficult to get out there. I mean, certainly after Jules died, I just couldn't go out there at all. So getting all of this stuff going again is just such a positive affirmation for me. And also being here is a positive affirmation to me, because that is the space where I feel immersed, and sometimes that is incredibly painful, actually, but it's so bloody worth it. So is the thing. And this year is going to be an interesting one for me, isn't it, personally? But yeah, I'm going to keep on getting out there, keep on sharing the joy that I find in it as ever. And I know that I will find so much joy. So thank you very much for all of your support. Keep throwing those hands in the soil, Emery. Absolutely, I will. So I need to. It's what keeps me sane, isn't it? And in the Telegraph article, it actually came out. It came out in the paper yesterday. It was enormous, the article. But yeah, it's just like love and pain are found in the soil in equal measure, aren't they? Particularly at the moment. But love is just as perennial, and hopefully the pain will lessen as time goes on. So yeah, anyway, let's not end in sadness. Thank you so much for bringing me joy. I'm going to continue sowing my tomatoes and get through as much of this as I can. So I hope you're going to enjoy doing your gardening whatnots this afternoon. And thank you so much for being with me. Any comments at all that you want to put in the comments when this goes live, it does take a little while for it to go up on Substack. Feel free. And it's just so gorgeous to see you. I'm just going to have a quick look at some of your comments before I go. Oh, thank you, Blossom Board Bean. That's so nice. Jules is off to go and sow her tomatoes. That's wonderful. Oh, thank you for your compliments about the book, Jo. I'm so proud of it. I really am. And I couldn't have done it without all of you. And there is a thank you at the back. So to all of you guys. Oh, thank you about the article there, LEP. And Melinda, thanks for the hug. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Amanda. Really kind of you, all of you. Big hugs to you, Kat, and to you, Anna. Oh, thank you. Right. Happy Mother's Day to you all. So, and I will see you anon. And yeah, happy gardening. Lots of love to you all. See you soon. Bye-bye.